If you've been breaking your rules lately and have been beating yourself about it, this one is for you. You don't break your rules because you're bad at managing your emotions or your impulses. You don't break them because you're weak or stupid or not meant to be a trader. You break them because your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. And until you realize and accept and work with that, you will keep fighting the battle the wrong way. Or you will behave very well for a period of time and then break your rules again, blowing money away, and you may eventually quit, thinking that you're not meant to be a trader. And I know I have. But the truth is, you've been looking at this the wrong way. Let's assume that you already know your strategy. You already know your entry criteria, you already know your stop loss and your exit criteria. But in the moment, you move the stop, you exit early, or you get greedy and move your TP. You skip your checklist or journaling. You take the trade you said you wouldn't, or take ones that aren't near your levels. And why do we all do that? Because knowing something is in the thinking brain, but trading pressure activates the survival brain. And when survival mode is on, every rule just gets thrown away in a black void in your mind, and survival, relief, or everything in between becomes the only driver. When a trade goes against you or the market moves very fast, your body reacts before your mind does. Your breathing changes, muscles tense up, and heart rate increases. Your brain reads open risk as threat. It does not care that this is a 1% position. It treats it like literal danger. So if you don't train it, your brain and body defaults to activate the survival protocols, which is called emotional hijacking. And once that switch flips, all your logic and knowledge are thrown out the window. Before the trade, you are calm, rational, structured. During the trade, your rules start feeling negotiable. You get lost in the reactions of the market. You start having thoughts like it will come back. It has to retrace a little. This level is strong. I'll just give it more room. That voice sounds logical, but it's not analysis. You're just avoiding discomfort. It's hope instead of accountability. Productivity science and behavioral psychology tells us that the brain hates unfinished uncertainty. An open trade is an open loop. Uncertainty creates tension, discomfort, pain in your body, and your brain is wired to try and close that loop in the fastest way possible. Close early, move stop, double down, not because it's smart or that you're a contrarian, but because it wants relief. Trading is one of the most powerful dopamine environments that exists. Unpredictable rewards, variable outcomes, fast feedback. It's structurally very similar to gambling systems. And dopamine is not released by winning. It's released by the anticipation. That's why impulsive trades feels exciting. That's why you take actions that doesn't make sense after the fact. But it feels good in the moment. It's the feeling of chasing relief. When emotion rises, your brain shifts from thinking to survival. Your carefully designed rules were built in a calm state. When you're backtesting or practicing, are you trading well, but not when real money's on the line? Well, that's because your systems or rules are missing something. They must be built to survive a stressed state. If your system depends on willpower, it will fail under pressure. And we discussed this in video 6 about the discipline being a terrible goal. Environment and systems beats willpower. So you gotta factor in your rules and your systems the stress, the anxiety, the emotions. Listen, if you keep breaking your rules, it's not a strategy problem. It's an emotional regulation problem. You cannot out-analyze a nervous system that is dysregulated. And until you train that system, train your body to follow your rules while it's in pain or under pressure, your performance will eventually always collapse under stress. So what did trading survivors do differently to break this brain and body habit? They interrupted the breaking pattern long enough and repeatedly until it becomes a habit not to break your rules under pressure. Let's say every time you drove at night, you went to McDonald's drive-thru. And let's say you wanted to stop that. It's hard at first. Why? Because it's a habit. It's easy, it's comfortable, it's familiar. So how do you change that? The easiest way is to find something else to replace it with. Something that makes sense to you. So for example, every time you drive at night, instead of McDonald's, you stop and fill up for gas, even if you don't need. Or you go get a healthy meal, or a drink, or you see some friends, or go to the gym, or whatever works and makes sense for you. Great, so the first couple of days are fine. Your willpower is helping you out. But then after a couple of nights or a week, your body and brain wants to go back to the way things were, to the comfortable, to the easy, to the usual. Our bodies rely on habit, not willpower. Do you brush your teeth because you want to every night? Or because it just became a habit and you just do it? And unfortunately, this applies to both good and bad habits. We stick to them. So one night you're upset, frustrated, or something happened, and you just get back to McDonald's. The problem we do is this. We assume that this is a failure, that we were weak that one time, which means that we're always going to be weak, and we better just not bother trying. But slipping one time is not failure. It's just losing the battle, not the war. If we missed brushing our teeth one night, do we say, I'm bad at this, I will not try to brush my teeth again? But you know why we do that? Because it's painful to suck. It's painful to fail, and that's human. To really make a lasting habit, what we want to do differently is to make it a little less painful when we fail. So assume that you will slip a few times. Assume that you will break your trading rules a few times. Because the goal is not to not break them. The goal is to train your body and your brain to build the habit of not breaking them. And building habits come from repetition. If you didn't repeat something once, it's not a failure. It's just still part of the practice. So you keep showing up, build habits of following rules, habits of relaxing your mind and body during trading. Repeat that long enough until you no longer have to think about it, until it becomes like brushing your teeth, even when you're tired, or when you don't want to, or when you're busy. You don't want to be the person who pushes themselves to brush your teeth. You want to be the person who just does. Now, here are some examples of real action you can take to build that habit. The first one is the 60-second rule. So you don't change anything about your trade for 60 seconds or 5 minutes or a day or a week, depending on whether you're a swing trader or a day trader or a scalper. The second thing is to step away from the screen after entering a trade. And the third is to pre-commit to a fixed stop loss. So for example, you take 50 trades with the sole purpose of not moving your stop, of even watching your stop get hit. You must create friction between impulse and action. Impulse thrives on speed, and stability thrives on pause. The simplest way to build any good trading habit is to use smaller size. It makes it very easy to not break your rules. It helps building habits very efficiently and effectively without losing a lot of money trying. The issue is that it's simple, but it's very hard to do. It requires patience. Listen, if you are currently breaking rules, you are trading too large for your nervous system. Confidence is not built by forcing size. It is built by proving to yourself that you can execute cleanly. So instead of focusing on making money this week, let's make your only goal to enter 10 perfectly executed trades. Not profitable, perfectly executed. You rebuild self-trust through evidence. Now, what should you do after you mess up? Because knowing that you will is power. It removes the anticipation or the shock. Remember, you will lose a few battles before winning the war. Let's say you moved the stop, or revenge traded, or ignored your checklist. So when you do, you have the usual options. You either spiral down or shame yourself, which neither builds confidence nor help you in any way, or You can instead write exactly what emotions was present. Write what the rule was. Identify the trigger moment. Design one friction tool or one habit for the next time. What will you do instead when you start feeling this trigger? And that's growth. Confidence returns when you assume you will fail and that you will improve after each failure. Confidence returns when behavior improves, not when P&L improves. Multiple losses in a row shakes traders no matter how good they are. They start doubting themselves. But remember in video 5 that probability does not care about your recent streak. Edge plays out over samples, not feelings. If losses are within your statistical expectation, then your job is execution consistency. If they are outside your expectations, your job is system review. But neither requires emotional chaos. So if your system tells you that you can lose 5 trades in a row or 10 trades in a row, but over 100 trade, your win rate is 70%, and this is what is happening, you are just in the 30% phase where you're just constantly losing, then your job is still execution and consistency. But if it's outside the expectation, let's say you entered 100 trade and 60 of these trades were wrong, then now your job is system review. Now you start to tweak your rules and systems and entry and exits. So remember this, confidence is not built on charts alone. You need to borrow from other domains, training at the gym or running or whatever sport you like. As long as you're growing and reaching your limits and moving beyond them, this builds confidence. Some people do cold plunges or any type of cold exposures, which teaches you discomfort tolerance, or expanding and testing your comfort zone in any social environment, which builds emotional regulation under stress. Keeping promises to yourself in small areas, like maybe trying to talk to strangers or dancing outside or whatever gets your confidence tested. Why does this matter? Because confidence is nervous system training, and trading exposes that weakness. So it's also important to train your confidence outside trading. Confidence is not, I believe I will win. Confidence is, I can follow my rules even when I don't want to. That's it. You don't need certainty. You need stability. You're not failing because you lack intelligence. You are failing because your biology is currently stronger than your structure. And that is trainable. Rule breaking is not proof that you're incapable. It's proof you're just untrained under pressure. So train under that pressure. Reduce the size. Increase the friction between your impulse and your execution. And track your consistency in the execution, not your profits. And confidence will return.